to Don't Stop Me Now. We're going to keep rolling with some new and great people who have been able to join us and will be joining us here in the future. Just a reminder, we're off on July 4th, but come on back and we will be there the next week. Today is a special guest. I met Andrew through a friend of mine through the Harrison, and he is a delight. He is an attorney, a mentor, and just all around great person who I consider a friend in the making. And we're really excited to have Andrew Smiley join us today. Welcome, Andrew.
Hey, Paula, thanks for having me. Very excited to be here.
Yes, I put down below how people can get in contact with you. So on LinkedIn.
Thank you.
I am so thrilled that you're here. This is just an exciting time for me to have you here because of all the things you do with mentoring others. But
Yeah, go ahead.
let's first talk about what do you do as your normal job? What is it something that a normal typical day look like for you?
Well, there are no normal typical days for me, as many people I'm sure can relate. But my day job, so to speak, is as the managing partner and lead trial attorney for a boutique law firm in Manhattan called Smiley and Smiley, which was founded by my father, Guy, in 1968. And we specialize in personal injury law, boutique practice, serious accidents and death cases, where we handle those. So that's my day-to-day job, is managing the firm and managing the cases and running the business.
Wow. Sounds like you are incredibly busy.
I am, and when I'm not doing that, I lecture. I'm a past president of the New York State Academy of Trial Lawyers, which has about 4,000 members across the state of New York, and I lecture monthly for what's called continuing legal education, or CLEs. And I usually have anywhere between 500 and 1,200 lawyers that log in for my lectures that I do over Zoom, and I lecture on all types of topics within the world of personal injury law and trial skills and medical malpractice and construction accident cases and auto accident cases. And I have a podcast. It's the Mentor ESQ, where I put up all those CLEs as well as interview some really interesting people and share my thoughts on things in the law. And when I have my extra free time, I'm working on a book to publish about how to litigate a personal injury case. And when I'm not doing that, I'm trying to get on the track and drive a Porsche as fast as I can, which I'm heading out to Birmingham, Alabama tomorrow morning to Barber Motorsport Park to Porsche driving school for a few days to have some fun there.
Right. I remember we talked about this. This is something you love to do. I think you said you kind of do it yearly.
Yeah, as much as I can. I go quite often to local tracks. I'm not far from a track in Northwest Connecticut called Lime Rock. And I was recently up in Watkins Glen, New York. But this is first travel in a while and looking forward to it.
That is so wonderful. It's just all the incredible things that you're doing as you're mentoring, and you're putting on these classes and you're doing all these wonderful things. You don't have a brief moment in time. And I remember you going on vacation where you said you were getting ready to go, but you were going to put your phone on silent for a week.
Yep,
Did
that's
you
right.
manage to do that?
I did. So twice a year when I go on vacation with my family, usually in March for my daughter's spring break and for the Christmas holiday break in December, we usually go someplace warm with water and boats in an island somewhere, wherever we can find. And I turn off my phone. I stick it in the drawer for the whole week. I don't check text, voicemails, emails. And you can do it. You just let everybody know, your colleagues, your staff, your clients, that I'm checking out for a week, and everybody's very happy to give you that freedom of quiet to enjoy, and it helps.
It does. It helps you recharge and reset, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about mentoring. I wrote a little chapter on this in my book about having an in house mentor or an outsourced mentor who doesn't work in the same field as you do. What what if, give me some ideas on how you mentor people, because you seem to do that quite a bit.
I do, Apollo. Mentors come in all shapes and sizes and locations. And I was fortunate that I grew up with my father as a mentor. So that was unique. Not everybody has that. I grew up interested in the law. He shared everything with me, and he happens to be an excellent, legendary trial attorney. So I learned a lot from him. And now I'm reaching the period in my professional career where I've been doing this now for over a quarter of a century, and I've learned a lot, and I'm giving back. And so by lecturing, I'm mentoring, and then people reach out to me. I do something called one-on-ones, where you can go to my websites and click on a Calendly link for a free half-hour Zoom, and I meet with all types of people. I've met with well over 100 lawyers in the last 6 months doing that. And so some will reach out for me, young lawyers, older lawyers, asking me to mentor them. I will always say I'm happy to mentor you. Just reach out to me. I love sharing what I know and helping lawyers be their best. And I'm actually starting a mentorship program in the fall where people can sign up, and I'm going to meet monthly with a group of whoever's interested in joining my mentorship program and just talk on things that I know and to help people grow in what they do. So, it's important that if you don't have a natural mentor, either by way of a family member or where you work, to find one and reach out, because there's plenty of people willing to share their knowledge and expertise and happy to do it. And mentors get a lot of pleasure from mentoring, for sure.
They do, don't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, it's a two-way street the way I look at it. Not only are you mentoring somebody and helping them along their path. Now, I would say some mentors, you know, try and tell you what path to go down, but the really, really good mentors are the ones that really listen, and they also help you develop the path that's going to best serve you. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it's a great point, because as a mentor, you never want to tell someone what to do. You really want to be a sounding board objectively and give your guidance. Now, my guidance to someone may be different than your guidance to someone, but it'll come both from a place of our experience and what we think will be helpful. And I might say something that clicks or doesn't. You may say something that clicks or doesn't. So it's as long as we share our thoughts, and then the mentee takes from it what they will. Interestingly, I'm sure you've seen this, that since the pandemic, a lot of people in my profession, a lot of attorneys are really at a crossroads. And on my one-on-ones, a lot of people are saying to me, I don't know, I retired, but I'm trying to get back into work. What do you think? Or they'll say, I've been doing this type of work in the law for this period of time, but I'm kind of tired of it. What do you suggest? What do you think? And so I'm honored when people ask, but they know they're going to get an objective opinion, because I've got no skin in the game. I'm not a family member. I don't work with them. And so I can speak freely because of that separation of closeness. And my guidance these days is telling everybody, follow your passion, follow something that you'll be excited about. Don't chase the money, chase the quality of life to be with your family or the people who are important to you, and something that you enjoy doing. And it'll all flow from there. That's my pitch.
You know what? So you and I are on the same page there, and I think we've talked about this because it is when you enjoy doing what you do and you have a passion for it, it comes along so naturally. And being able to understand how to grow that passion just makes it worthwhile to get up every day and to come home every day. I remember there was a time that, in my vast 30 years of experience, there were times that I literally hated putting my hand on the door, because on the door, garage door, to come in, because I knew I had so much work still left behind. And it turned me into a workaholic.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, even now I find, and I'm working remotely for the last couple of years. My office is in Midtown Manhattan, and with technology and Zoom like this, I'm able to handle all my affairs and business and Zooming and court appearances and mediations from my computer, which is fantastic. But I find that that leads to more work because it's hard to walk by when I'm at home and walk by my desk and not sit down and squeeze out a few hours. And I always feel like I should be doing something. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with is still, even when you have the opportunity to say, no, I don't want to work, feeling that you really should be working.
Right, right. And I think, so many people today, we're seeing this kind of hybrid work situation coming on where people work different hours. Some people work best from 8 o'clock till midnight.
Absolutely.
If
Absolutely.
if the customer will accept that, why not? Right?
Yeah, I mean, I've my the whole model in the legal profession, from my point of view, is flipped upside down because I have a paralegal in my firm who's my right hand, does a lot of the paperwork and a lot of stuff to really help support me. And she's not really a morning person; she's more of a night owl. And her office hours were 9 to 5. And now she can sleep as late as she wants. And I get emails from her getting her work done over the weekend at night, and she asked me if I mind. I said, I don't care as long as you get your work done. And I think she loves it. I love it. And you don't have to, just because you're sitting in a cubicle at an office doesn't mean you're getting your work done. So
Exactly.
I learned that as well.
Yeah. So if you were to give kind of a piece of advice to up and coming attorneys or up and coming professionals who want to be mentored, what would you ask them, or what would you tell them? What kind of questions should they be asking?
Well, my first recommendation would be think about where you want to go ultimately. Let's say you're just graduated from law school, but you're say, I like what Andrew Smiley does. He's got a podcast, he does personal injury law. That seems interesting to me. I'd like to get to his level at some point. If that's, then you want to reach out to someone like me. You always want to find someone that you is in a position that you aspire to have, whether it's a quality of life, whether it's a financial stability, whether it's being a president of a bar organization or some other organization, and then reach out to that person and say, hey, I love what you do. I'd like to do what you do as well as you. Are you free to mentor me at some point? I don't want to take up most of your time. And you may get turned down, but I guarantee you someone's going to agree, and you may know that person already. But don't be shy about reaching out. It's an honor for all of us if anyone reaches out and asks for guidance and mentorship. So that would be the first step, is to do that.
That's really great. So, is there anything specific that you and I were talking about before that you'd like to talk about here today?
Few things. Well, I read your book, and for those of you, if you haven't read it, it's a must read. And Paula obviously has a love of music and has tied that into her workspace and all things related to working and views on life. And as I was reading it, I realized that there's such a connection with music and places in your life. Music can bring you to a happy place, to a sad place. And so I think it's really great to touch into that and to use the music. If you're in, a lot of people get into funks, and I do. I think most people do at some point. And go to that music, have it get you out of the funk. If there's music that inspires you when you're, find the music for the mood that you're in or the mood you want to be in. And I think it can really help. So I really enjoyed hearing about that and reading about the music. So I encourage that.
So, did you start your playlist?
You know what? I've always got a playlist going. I have in my car, one of the things where you can like hit on a song when you like it, and then
Yeah,
it creates the like list. So
yeah.
I've got it. And then I'm out driving sometimes. Sometimes I want to listen to hip hop music. Sometimes I want to listen to some rock and roll. Sometimes I'm in the mood, no music at all. I listen to a podcast. My favorite lately is the Porsche Club of America Insider podcast, because I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to all things cars, so I like listening to that. But you try and match your mood to either embrace where you're at or to escape where you don't want to be with music.
That's right. That's right. And it's so fun to see how that music can be inspiring. It can be creative. It also allows you to uncover feelings that you might not otherwise share.
Yeah.
You know, that's what lyrics do to me. I will be driving down the road and I'll hear a lyric and go, "Oh my gosh, that's exactly how I'm feeling." Right?
Yeah. And, anyone who watches professional sports or athletes of any kind, you always see they have their headphones on before it's go time, whether it's Shaun White and going about to enter the snowboard pipe, or a swimmer stepping up to go, or basketball players, tennis players. And everybody's got their music that either pumps them up, if that's where they want, or maybe mellows them out. I used to, before, not as much lately, but earlier in my career, I'd be really, really nervous before the start of a trial or maybe a summation or whatever it was. So I would put on, and this was before, headphones are as popular as they were.
Yeah.
And I'd go in my office and turn on my music, and I'd listen to some smooth R&B and just shut my eyes and take deep breaths and just try and bring my heart rate down a little bit and just relax so I can get into kind of that Zen mode. So there's different ways that you can use music depending on the situation you may be finding yourself in, to help pump you up, mellow you out, whatever it may be.
Well, thank you for the commercial. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Music is so important to me, and it can, help you tap into both sides of your brain, as we talked about before. And I think that's really where we are right now, is everyone is so driven on this resume building that they forget the creative side of it, the stuff that's going to open you up and really allow innovation in.
It's interesting to talk about resume building. If I can touch on something regarding resumes for a moment that seemed sort of simple to me, but my audience who I was speaking to was surprised to hear it. I got invited to lecture through Zoom to a paralegal studies class. And everybody in the class was of all different ages. Some were doing it for a second career, some for a first, and they wanted to be a paralegal and get into the law. And they were curious, for me, having hired many, many paralegals and reviewed many, many resumes, what is important, what to look for. And people are always working on their resumes. And what I explain to everyone is, listen, if I'm looking at resumes, as most people who get resumes across the desk, they're getting hundreds, if not thousands. And they're seeing similar things in all the resumes. And it's really important that you stand out. And the things that I like to see if I'm going to hire a paralegal is, for example, let's say you were a counselor at a sleepaway camp for 10 years after being a camper there, and you took on positions as director of this or that. I said, I'd love to see that, because that shows me you know how to manage people, you know how to handle, if you can handle young kids running around, or if I see someone that worked in a restaurant as a server for a long time and knows how to interact with people. And I get this look from everybody in the class like, really? We should put that on our resume? I was like, yeah, you should put it on your resume, because if I see that, I may, having gone to sleepaway camp when I was a kid, I know what's involved. So I was talking about the importance of putting your hobbies front and center, putting your languages, if there's something you're into, whatever it is. For me, I used to sort of hide my love of cars and Porsches and driving, thinking that's kind of, no one cares about that. That's I'm here for the law. But people love hearing about things that I do behind the scenes. They love hearing I like hip hop and that I'm actually a really good dancer and that I like to drive on a track and I like to do landscaping around my house and all of that, because we are so much more than what a resume says about us. That's the side B you talk about, your side A and your side B. And the side B is what you really need to show your colleagues, your followers, your mentees. Let them know about the person behind the resume. It's so important to do that.
I couldn't agree with you more. And one of the things that I used to look for wholeheartedly was restaurant work. And the reason, because I was in sales, I knew that that person understood the value of tips or commissions
Yep.
as they get into sales, right? It's not just the little tiny, I think when I was in serving, it was 201, $2 and a penny that I got on. And so my change came from my tips. So you knew how to do that. And so I would look for that. And I would look for those things too. And ask good questions as a interviewer about somebody's, what do they care about? What's behind? And you may have to go 3 levels deep. Tell me more about that. Can you explain that further to get to the real root of what's inside that person?
Absolutely. And it's not natural. Sometimes people feel like they're prying if you're interviewing someone, and some people, if they're being interviewed, may not want to share anything
Right.
about their personal background. So that's sort of something that, as an interviewer and an interviewee, you have to feel out. But I think it's really important. I focus much more when I'm interviewing lawyers and paralegals about the person. I want to know about the person. And because we're all so much more than what our resume. I mean, people see me, they see a white male in a suit with my law background and all of that. But that's just a small part of me. That's my side A, right? They don't know the behind the scenes. So
Hidden hits of Andrew J. Smiley.
that's right.
And I have to ask you, what color is your Porsche?
So I have two Porsches, and they are both white. I
Okay.
like white Porsches. My first Porsche I bought 23 years ago in 1999. It was my dream car from when I was in high school. It's a 1989 Porsche 911 Targa, and it's white with the black whale tail and the black interior and the Targa top that comes off. And I believe that most sports car lovers love the car. That was the big deal when they were in high school. And
Yeah.
that was that in the Magnum PI Ferrari, the 328 GTS, were both sort of the big cars back then. But I always loved Porsche, so I got that one 23 years ago. And I bought my first new Porsche just 2 years ago, and that is a Cayman GTS 4.0 in white also. And that's sort of my track car now, what I really use to go fast on
To
the
go
track.
fast. Down in Birmingham. I think that's going to be great. You leap to
Yeah,
the world.
yeah,
That's amazing. So let's get back to our resume building skills and our hidden hits. As you were saying, when interviewees or mentors or interviewers go into these type of meetings, there are those questions that obviously we're not allowed to ask, right? You know what they are. How old are you? Are you, talk about children, family. What are some other types of things you know, we could talk about?
What I often say to sort of approach that area when I'm interviewing someone, I'll say, "What do you like to do for fun, if you don't mind sharing, when you're not working? Do you have any hobbies you really enjoy that you go with, either a spouse, partner, friend, yourself? What do you like to do?" And I just leave it at that. I think that's certainly a fair question. And it leaves it open enough that the interviewee can decide how much they want to share and what they want
Right.
to share. And then depending on that response, you can get into it. If someone says, "Oh, I really like salsa dancing," I'm like, "Oh, really? I like to dance. Where do you go? What do you do? Do you take classes?" So depending on what you get back, if someone says, "Oh, I kind of just like to hang out at home. I'm a
Yeah.
homebody," and you're like, "Okay." But that doesn't get me inspired. It doesn't get me thinking about the type of person that I want on my team.
Right. Right. I agree. I think one of my favorite questions is when I'm talking to people that are in the same city as I am is, Of all the places here in Columbus, Ohio, what
Mhm.
is your favorite restaurant?
Yeah,
Right?
that's a
Because
good one.
now we get to talk about, you know, what kind of food do they like? Are they inspirational or go to McDonald's, right?
Yeah, yeah. Food's always a great topic to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm a foodie. I love to eat. I love to cook. I've taken cooking classes. I'm the family chef, so I'm always whipping up dinners, and it's therapeutic to cook, and it's a great conversation piece to share with others.
I think when my daughter, she goes on all these trips and she took a cooking class in Thailand, went
Oh
to
wow!
a person's house and they gave her her and her friend these amazing cooking
Ah,
classes.
nothing
So
better than that.
yeah. And I said, so are you going to bring it back home and share with mom?
No, eat it
No,
all.
no. Well, we've got about a couple more minutes here. And, I thank you for being on here because after meeting you and talking to you, you have inspired me to really help others in a way that is only natural to serve people. And I think that that is something that you do so well.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. And, I guess in closing, I think it's important. I know that you talk a lot about leadership as well and things to consider for the next generation of leaders. I feel that we're in a really interesting time right now. And with remote working and hybrid situations and expanding the workforce where people can now work from different states with each other, where it never was easy before. And I would just encourage our new generation of leaders to really think about that model, think about how best to embrace and get the best out of people depending on what works for them and their work-life balance as far as coming in and remote. I think that's super important to really start giving good thought to that, because I see that as a real sea change in what we do in all areas of profession, in all areas of work. And that's going to make a big difference in the years ahead, I believe.
You know, that change is going to, what's happening now and changing that into the C suite is going to be something that's going to be very pivotal. And it's going to be pivotal for many reasons. One, because we now know that emotional intelligence is the number one predictor to productivity and success, right?
Yep.
So when we have those kind of things and we start talking about what is it that makes people productive, it's their happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more thing about leadership that I think it's really important to share, it's my take on it, is that it's so much better to lead from a position of compassion and understanding of your staff and being giving of yourself and being willing to jump into the trenches and be side by side and be there in the tough times for your team, as opposed to being a real tough boss, because I have found it's just, most of us do naturally what we do, and that's probably the best, and see how it plays out, because you can't really fake your leadership skills. But if you are a kind, compassionate person, don't be afraid to let that out and share that with your staff. When my staff wants time off for any reason, I give it to them. When they
Yeah.
screw up, I tell me you screwed up and we'll work through it. Because then they want to do well. They really they want to make you proud as a leader. They want to be a strong part of the team. And I found that to be the proper and most successful way to lead. That's been my experience. I know perhaps if you're in a big corporation and you're the top dog and you've got to be tough and ruthless, hey, that's not my world. My world is much smaller. So that may make a difference also. But I thought it was worth sharing my viewpoint, that I find that you can be successful with also being a decent, kind, compassionate person.
I Accountability with kindness and discipline with graciousness.
Yes.
You can have both, and honestly, that's what today's employees are looking for. They're looking for that honesty. They're looking for that transparency as far as knowing what their leader looks like you talked about earlier today, behind, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So our time is up. I want to thank you. If you'll sit tight for me, I'm going to bring on the song, and then I want to chat with you for just a few minutes.
You got it. Thank you for having me.